All right, so what's up, people? Especially Niner fans. I'm recording this. I just decided not to go live, but anyway, this is my 2023 draft review for the Niners. Um, Look, I don't care what the national pundits are saying about the Niners had a lousy draft and blah blah blah, and just because they didn't have a first or second round pick, it kind of messes up their draft grade. I don't care about draft grades, dude. And to be honest, our second round pick is Christian McCaffrey. A third round pick is Christian McCaffrey. Our fourth round pick is Christian McCaffrey. Um, so the way I look at it was this draft outside the kicker, which I still don't think you should take a kicker that high. But whatever, yo. Sorry, people. Outside the kicker, um, I understand the direction we went in this draft. We picked up some really good pieces. When we traded up and took a safety, I wasn't shocked that we took a safety as our first pick. I kind of figured that was our biggest need. We got Deshaun Gibson at free safety, who's 33 years old. He was thinking about retirement this year. And then he came back on a 1-year deal. But after that, we don't really have anybody. And we ended up getting Jair Brown out of Penn State. Jair Brown's one of the safeties I really liked in this draft. There was also Brown, the other Brown out of Illinois. He was a really good safety, but he was more of a box safety. The reason I like Jair Brown's, and that's why I didn't really like Jamie Robinson was his name, the kid from Florida State. He was more of a box type guy. The reason I like Jair Brown so much is because of his versatility. Remember, he played there when Jaquan Brisker was there. When Jaquan Brisker was down there near the light. Sorry, people, I must be tired. Down there near the line of scrimmage when they played together, it was Jair Brown that was deep. I get it. A lot of people say, well, he only ran a 4.6 40. Turn on the game tape. Turn on the game tape and shut the fuck up, because the guy is fast enough on the field to get in the right position. He is the only safety in this draft that over the span of the last 2 seasons has 10 interceptions, 16 total turnovers, because he's also caused 6 forced fumbles in the last 2 seasons. That's how productive Jair Brown's been. But everybody's bagging on him because of his 4.6 40 time. But then they're also saying, oh, he reminds me of Talanoa Hufanga. Hufanga ran a 4.6. Hufanga in his first year, because we had people in those spots, i.e. Jaquiski Tart, played special teams, and there were times he'd come in sparingly whenever it was close to an end of a game, or sometimes maybe a game or two here and there for an injury if somebody got a little nicked up. But he didn't get a lot of playing time his rookie year. He played a lot of special teams. He had the big block punt, remember in Green Bay, block punt for a touchdown. And then his first year starting, he turns into an all-pro safety. So if Jair Brown reminds people of Talanoa Hufanga, and if he can be on the same trajectory and in 2 years he's an all-pro, then we're going to have 2 all-pros at safety. Yeah, I am not bitching at that in the 3rd round at pick 87. Excellent pick. I love it. Jair Brown is going to be just fine. And one of his specialties is he's a really good blitzer. And now that we have a new defensive coordinator, that's going to be imperative. I mean, what, Jair Brown by himself as a safety last year had 15 pressures and 4.5 sacks, I believe. So, you know, that's cool. But like I say, he can also play deep. He could play single high. He could play in the box. He could play in the slot. So Jair Brown's really, really versatile and interchangeable if we need him to be. Excellent pick. And we used our 102nd pick to trade up. So we kept our 99 and 101. And then at 99, I really don't want to talk about this, but I got to. I'm not dogging the player. Jake Moody might be really good kicker. Might be an amazing kicker. But I still don't believe in drafting a kicker in the top 100 picks. You don't do it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they had other info. They said there was 4 or 5 teams wanting to trade up to try to get him. I know right after we took him, New England traded up like 8 spots and at 112 took the kicker out of Maryland. So who knows? Maybe New England had their eye on Jake Moody, and then when Jake Moody went, they realized, shit, we got to make a move if we want to get the kicker we want. I don't know. I'm not in these draft rooms. It's not my call, but it's a fucking kicker. There's not really much to say. And then pick 101. Some people were bitching about and it wasn't the position they were bitching, it was the player. Cameron Latu, tight end out of Alabama. The guy is still. Could we have gotten him later? Maybe, possibly. The guy's still a little bit raw as far as the tight end goes. I mean, hell, he only switched over to tight end three seasons ago. He was recruited to Alabama as like a 4-star linebacker or some shit. Put on more weight, changed to the offensive side, and became a tight end. And I believe he set the record. I may have to look this up or somebody might have to correct me. I believe he set the record at Alabama for most red zone touchdowns in a season with 8. That's not too bad if you ask me. I think one thing that attracted the Niners to Latu was he's a bigger body guy, so that'll help with the blocking. And for all these people saying he's not a good blocker or anything like that, the guy's a pretty good blocker. And not just that, it's not going to take him as long to get up to speed as far as the blocking assignments in our run game, because he said that Alabama basically stole a lot of the 49ers run game scheme and they were using it down there in Alabama. So he knows a lot of the blocking assignments already. So that'll help him out going into camp. Which is really, really good. So I'm not upset at this pick. I mean, not who I wanted. I have my eyes on some other tight ends, but I'm not super pissed about it. Sorry, people. I do want to see him get his drop rate up, work on the hands a little more. I think he had like an 11% drop rate. But also, if you don't get a lot of targets, that drop rate's going to be super high anyway. So, I mean, his whole career, I think he had 59 catches. So he couldn't have had maybe 70, 75 targets the whole time he was there. You know, I don't know. So we'll see. He's a slower guy. I think he ran like a 4.7. I'm not too concerned about that as far as a tight end too. We just need somebody to block, and occasionally, especially if we get down to the red zone and start running more 2 and 3 tight end sets, somebody could leak out every once in a while and catch a pass, get positive yards out of it, and things like that. We just need a dependable tight end too, somebody that can actually take some of the load off George Kittle. Kittle's coming up on 30, and I want to see him be around for a few more years at least. And as hard as he plays, you never know, especially in the NFL. So, yeah. And then we didn't have a 4th round pick, so our next pick was 155, I believe, in the 5th round. And we took a DB that I knew we had met with. I think we had a top 30 visit with them. That seemed to be a theme of this draft. A lot of these guys we had top 30 visits with, we met with. They were captains or something like that on their team. Was a cornerback, Darrell Luter, out of South Alabama. I think the kid's 5'11", just under 6 foot. Long arms, big hands, paws. And he's he could play press coverage. He's a press zone guy. He could do both. Last year, his numbers as far as interceptions didn't look as good as the year before, because the year before, I guess people were testing him and stuff like that. And even though he held people to a very, very low completion rate, this last year they didn't really throw to his side as much. So he only had 1 interception, but that's not really a big deal. I mean, if you keep it to where quarterbacks don't want to look that way, and then they don't throw at you and stuff like that, I'm cool with that, because then they got to go somewhere else, and you're putting them in a predicament, or it could lead to a coverage sack. The kid, and here, I'll give you his 40 time. I believe it was in the 4.4s, because a lot of people hang so much weight on 40 times, but don't look at what these players do on the field. If I told somebody who never, ever, ever in their life watched Jerry Rice play football, told you this man ran like a 4.7, and he's the greatest wide receiver of all time in yards, receptions, touchdowns, whatever, they would probably tell me I'm full of shit. But Jerry Rice is one of those people. Throw the 40 out the window and look at the game speed. Game speed and 40 times are way different. So that's why I don't take a ton of stock into these 40 times. Because I have seen guys run slow 40s, get on the field and nobody could catch him. And you're like, what in the fuck? I thought this dude was slow. I guess he's not, huh? So, yeah, that's about all I really got on Darrell Luter. I think, I think he's going to be a good fit with Steve Wilks' defense. This draft seemed to have Steve Wilks' fingerprints on it, because we're going to be more of an attacking defense. And I think this draft really had his fingerprints on it. So we'll see how it turns out. Our next pick after that was also in the 5th round, because we gave one of our 5th rounders up to trade up for Jair Brown. We had 3. So our second 5th round pick, I believe, was at 173. We drafted Robert Beal Jr., a speed rusher out of Georgia. He fell to the 5th round because, I mean, his measurables are good. He's just a shade under 250, ran like a 4.47 or some shit. 6'3" and almost 250 pounds. I mean, that's insane. But he fell so far because he didn't get a lot. He got buried on the depth chart. Remember, this kid was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, but he got buried on the depth chart by a lot of the players that Philly drafted a couple of them and things like that. Some of the guys on the edge rushers on that defensive line went higher in the draft and things like that. But like I can't even remember their names. I know one of the guys that Philly took this year on pass rusher. I think he went in the 1st round to Philly. I'm not sure. But anyway, in 21, even with all these first rounders, first, second round pass rushers and stuff on Georgia's defense, Robert Beal led the team in sacks in 21. 22, not so much, but I'm not too concerned by that. So we're getting a speed rusher coming off the edge. He's got a really big wingspan, like 83 inches. So that'll help him once he learns how to use his leverage a little better at the NFL level, keep tackles off of him and things like that, and bend and get around that edge quick. I think what they envision for him is he's going to be the speed rusher they wanted Dee Ford to be, but Dee Ford's back was all fucked up. I think he might just be a situational guy this year. We're not going to see too much of him. He'll be a situational guy as he's coming along and stuff like that. Let Kasarik work with him. And I like this pick. I had no issues with it. This whole second part of this draft I really liked. I think the Niners did what they needed to do. We weren't going to get starters in this draft. Every position on our team outside of kicker, there was a starter. Every single position on this team outside of kicker. Zane Gonzalez wasn't going to start for us this year. I get it. We traded for him. It was a conditional pick. So we cut him. It looks like we'll be getting that pick back anyway. So, I mean, Zane Gonzalez wasn't going to start for us. There's no way in hell. I figured we'd draft a kicker in this, but I wasn't expecting the top 100 picks. That's just fucking ludicrous. So Robert Beal Jr. And then in the 6th round, I believe it was pick 216, we took a very productive, very speedy, instinctual, rangy linebacker out of TCU, D. Winters. I believe he was the MVP of the Fiesta Bowl when they played against Michigan. He was all over the field. He fucked off Michigan, straight up. But this guy's a 4.4 linebacker. A lot of people are calling him undersized. But if you look at this kid's measurables, the height, he's a little faster. He's only 6 pounds lighter, but he's almost identical measurable-wise to Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw was only 233 pounds when he came out at 5'11". D. Winters right now, well, they have him listed right now at 227. 5'11". He's very instinctual. He can cover. He's a really good blitzer, a really good blitzing linebacker. I think he had somewhere between 7 and 9 sacks last year. He's a middle backer. He's not an edge guy. But I like this pick. I think D. Winters, I think they're going to get him in the camp, see how he looks. But I do believe this guy could take over the third linebacker role sometime this season that Azeez Al-Shire left. I don't know how much we're going to run 3 linebacker sets. That's basically our base. I don't know how much will be in base down. I don't know how much will be in our base defense. So, we'll have to see. But, yeah, I think Dre Green or D Winters is going to take over for the third spot. And another thing, and I just recently started thinking about this draft, that some of these players are replacements for players next year. Everybody's complaining about our cap and, contracts and stuff like that. But if we can't, get Dre Greenlaw at the right price, he'll probably be gone. That's where D Winters can come in. So there was a method to this draft. And then after D Winters' pick, we went to the 7th round and we picked up another tight end, Braden Willis, out of Oklahoma. H-back type. He could come out of the backfield. He didn't do a ton of that. He's more of a receiver type tight end. He can block. He does need to get better. At the point, I'm not as far as an inline type blocker. Now, if he's spread out wide and he's got to pick up somebody down the field, he'll bury him. He'll put a safety or a DB or whatever on their ass if he has to, downfield if he's blocking in a run game. But in line against some linebackers and stuff like that, he's got to get a little tougher at the point of attack. I think we could work on that. But he's a really good receiver. He kind of reminds me, as far in the receiving game, of Jordan Reed a little bit. I'm not going to compare him or nothing. I'm just saying he reminds me a little bit of that. So if we could get that out of him, I'm cool. And I think the reason we double dipped at tight end was that instead of stretching it out the next 2 years, they're just going to get rid of Warner and Warner and Dwelley this fucking year and put Latu and Willis in there this year and say, hey, you guys weren't cutting it. We got these 2 young bloods in here to go ahead and give us some youth, and they're actually pretty talented too. So, you guys Dwelley's had 6 years to get it done now. So it's like you guys have had time. You're just not fucking cutting it, kick fucking rocks. And then we picked up wide receiver Ronnie Bell out of Michigan. 2 years ago, he had an ACL injury. I think it was like first game of the season or something like that. He caught like a 76-yard touchdown. Bang, his ACL went bye-bye. And then he came back this last year and led the Wolverines, I believe, in receptions and yards. 2-time team captain in Michigan. He's a 4.5 guy. That is a good route runner. I've seen something where somebody said he's not an NFL receiver because he runs a 4.5, and I'm like, there's a lot of receivers in the NFL that run 4.5s. If you're a good route runner, a good enough route runner, and you got really, really good hands, you can make it in the NFL. I'm just being completely honest. So we'll have to see how it shakes out with Ronnie Bell. We're already like 6 receivers deep 5, 6 deep already. So we'll have to see how it shakes out with Ronnie Bell. But for where we got him in the value, I like the pick. He could have probably gone in the 5th round or something like that, but getting him in the 7th, I like it at 253. And then at 255, we turn around and double dipped on linebacker. We double dipped on. We took a linebacker. I don't even remember this guy's name, but he came out of Purdue, and he was a converted safety, I believe. I think they said he only weighs 217 right now as a backer, but he was super productive for Purdue, all over the field. I guess his 40 time was 4.6, but if you watch the game tape, he looks like he plays a lot faster than that. He's always around the damn football. He's got ball skills because he's a converted safety. So we'll see what happens. There's going to be some guys in that linebacker room who are really going to have to put up this year, or have to step up this year, like Marcelino McCrary Ball, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. My bad. I would say Oren Burks, but I don't think so. Oren Burks is a special teams ace. And right now, he's our main depth piece at linebacker. So if somebody goes down, he's usually the first one that comes off the bench. So I think Oren Burks is spot safe, but like McCrary Ball and Flanagan-Fowles, they're going to have some competition this camp. So overall, I think we had a pretty good draft. We'll have to see, in about a year, in a year or two. I'm not going to sit here and hand out no stupid fucking draft grades. I'm not going to try to tell you exactly what this draft class is going to become, because I don't know. I'm just looking at it for what we did and how the roster is right now is just real telling. Like I said, double dipping at tight end tells me they're not happy with Dwelley and Warner. I could be totally wrong with that, but it just doesn't seem like that. Who was it, Dwelley or Warner, that missed the block that got fucking... Oh, no, it was Tyler Kroft. Well, Tyler Kroft's gone. So, but Dwelley and Warner, I don't think the team's too happy with the way they've performed. And especially Warner. I mean, there's been a couple times this man's had a chance to make an impact, and he'll just drop wide open passes, and it's just like, what the fuck, dude? So, if not both, at least one of those guys is gone, for sure this year. So, and then the linebacker thing is real interesting to me, because they could either be looking at it as D Winters going to play some special teams this year, just like the other linebacker. Forgive me if I forgot his name. I'm doing all this off the top of my head. I'm not using notes. I'm not one of these guys that writes a bunch of shit down and comes on here and reads this stupid fucking shit to people. I'm just doing this right off the top of my head. And the dude was like 4 picks from the end of the goddamn draft, the linebacker we took. So he's a 7th rounder. I'm not going to sit here and try to remember his fucking name. But, what was I saying? Oh, the D Winters thing, I think they could be trying to assess the landscape and think that if Dre Greenlaw has another really good year, he's going to want a big money contract. And I'm not sure if they want to give a second linebacker, their number 2 linebacker, a big money contract like they gave Fred Warner. I mean, I could be wrong, and we could pay the dude. We could pay Greenlaw. But if not, I think that's where D Winters slides in. And then the kid out of Purdue could end up taking over as a 3rd linebacker. But even with the linebackers we got now, there seems to be a theme with what the Niners like. They like productive linebackers. Some may look at him as a little undersized. I mean, people said Fred Warner was undersized, not height wise, because he's like 6'2", 6'3". But as far as weight, he was undersized. But the way he played in college, as far as he was almost like a big safety at BYU, but he was also a linebacker. So we like these guys that got the speed, they got ball skills to cover, and they're really, really good tacklers and things like that. So, we just kept that theme up with this draft as far as linebackers go. We'll just have to see how it plays out, like I said, in a year or two. But I liked it. I didn't have any issues with it except the kicker. I don't think I'm going to let that one go. Like I said, it's not the player. It's where we drafted the kicker. At pick 99, we drafted this dude in the top 100. You're not supposed to do that, man. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. But whatever, Moody could turn out to be a Sebastian Janikowski, and I can look like a dumbass. I mean, even though he does, it's still going to be one of those, why do we have to draft him in the third fucking round? Even though, a lot of people didn't talk much about Janikowski be drafted in the first round when he was making all those goddamn kicks and was kicking forever. But we'll see how it all plays out. It's gonna be interesting camp. There is some new competition at certain positions, but like I said, pretty much all our starters are locked in already. We know how this team's assembled. We know how it's gonna be. The only thing is we're gonna have a little philosophy change on defense. We're not gonna be one of these teams that tries to get home with just 4 and doesn't blitz very often. We're going to be a team that blitzes a lot more because that's how Steve Wilks gets down. So I was going to talk about some of the undrafted guys, but I don't know because I don't know how many of them will make the squad. I don't want to get too excited for a lot of these undrafted guys and then nothing happen. I mean, there's a little bit of theme in the undrafted stuff too, as far as looking ahead. Like the kid we signed out of Oregon State, the Jack Coletto kid, the linebacker, the fullback. He was almost like a Taysom Hill type at Oregon State. Played some quarterback, all this shit. But I don't think that's why the Niners picked him up. I think they picked him up to be a fullback. Looking ahead, like maybe next year to when Juice is not here anymore. He's not getting any younger. I get it. He's a Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro. He's the best fullback in the game, all this stuff. Everything comes to an end at one point or another. Juice may want top dollar, whatever the hell that is for a fullback. And if this Coletto kid's ready to step in, we might just let him. So, and then everybody was bitching and crying in the draft that we didn't pick up a right tackle. We need right tackle. We need right tackle. We need right tackle. Kind of like last year. Aaron Banks starting to left guard. What the fuck? Don't start Aaron Banks at left guard. He's fucking trash. How did that work out for people? Aaron Banks wasn't trash his first year. What it was with Aaron Banks was he had to get his body right. He went between his first and second year coming into this last year, which was his second year. He totally reshaped his body as far as, getting it football ready, got down a few pounds, was in way better shape, and then came in and showed the fuck out. Aaron Banks played really good last year. People tend to forget that. And then a lot of people thought we were going to have issues at right guard. We didn't have any issues at right guard. Spencer Burford stepped in admirably as a rookie and did a hell of a job. Who knows what McKivitz is going to be like at right tackle yet until we see it. So I'm going to ride with McKivitz for now. But if he starts fucking up, I'm going to be a first. But we did get a right tackle. Undrafted free agency. And this right tackle we got, I don't know how much stock y'all put into Mel Kiper. But if you're one of those people that loves Mel Kiper and all this draft bullshit and listens to Mel Kiper, the kid we signed out of Shepherd University, Joey Fisher, Mel Kiper mocked that dude to us as our first pick at 99. In the third round. He thought that highly of Joey Fisher. He had this kid going in the third round at 99 to the 49ers. The kid went undrafted, and we signed him. If he went to the combine, he would have had the most reps out of any offensive lineman. He would have been the fastest offensive lineman. Just a beast. He was, I think he played at D2 school. He was burying everybody down there. And people say, oh, well, a D2. At the Senior Bowl, where there's a step up in competition, this kid looked really, really good there too. We picked up 2 tackles and undrafted. The other kid out of Hawaii, Ilm, I-L-M. I think that's how you say his name, Ilm Manning. Got a lot of experience. I think the kid's played 60 games or something like that. A lot of experience. Not sure how good he is. Never really seen anything from him. I don't watch Hawaii football or nothing like that, so I don't know. We'll have to see. It is what it is. We picked up a couple running backs, a few wide receivers, a safety, a DB. Just undrafted dudes to fill out our roster, to be honest with you. If any of them were to make this roster, like I said, it'd probably be practice squad if they made anything, but it might be Coletto and Joey Fisher, the tackle. I could be wrong. I have no idea. So that's all there is for my draft recap. I'm not, gonna sit here and dog them, drag this draft class or nothing like that. I'm not one of these other people who, because they didn't have a first and second round pick, they automatically get a shitty grade. I don't even grade drafts like that. But I like what we did on day 3 of the draft a lot. I really do. I think we got some players that could contribute this year, if not on special teams. I really think D Winters is going to see a little more than special teams play this year. Both tight ends might see quite a bit of play this year. So we'll see, but that's all I got for now, and I'm gone, folks.